Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me, Josh Mansfield, on this Tuesday, September 24th. I cannot believe this year is flying by like this, Josh. It's feeling like fall here in New York City. Has it snowed in Idaho yet?
Not yet. People haven't bought enough of their Halloween costumes yet. It's going to stay 90 until everyone kind of buys their Halloween costumes.
Right.
And then once like 90% are purchased and, you know, all the kids have like their short sleeves and their shorts and their costumes, then you're going to get the snow. So they just have to wear parkas over them.
Bingo.
Yeah.
We got a lot to do today. We're going to be joined by Steve Dodge a little bit later. We were originally planning to have this interview run tomorrow for our MVP Open preview show, but we're going to have another interview tomorrow. And we'll leave that as a surprise. But I want to make sure we don't just have like a mega show tomorrow. So Steve will join us today to talk about changes to MVP Open. A lot of interesting stuff going on at MVP, including new pin positions, a decent amount of hole changes. Of course, the new triple mando on hole 1. We're going to talk about that. Tickets, a whole bunch of stuff. So always great to have Steve on. And of course, we are coming off the Green Mountain Championships, the first Pro Tour playoff event, a dominant win from Gannon Buhr, and we're going to talk about the dominance of Gannon Buhr in our first segment today. And Kristen Tatar wins in a playoff over Silva Saarinen after running down Silva in the final 5 holes. A 6-stroke swing in 5 holes, Josh. Kristen goes 3 down, Silva goes 3 over, and then Kristen wins in a playoff on the 18th after they took the golf cart up together, sitting next to each other with the camera right in their face on DGN. Oh, man. We did a rapid reacts, of course, for our subscribers on Sunday night. I would highly recommend that you subscribe. We went deep on the Kristen Silva situation and a whole bunch on the FPO side. We talked MPO as well. We're going to go into some different topics today. So if you want to hear more about GMC, definitely a great chance to sign up. It's $4 a month. If you sign up today, you basically get the whole rest of the year. Rapid reacts for MVP. Yep. For all of USDGC. We'll probably do dailies.
Yep. So that's 4.
And then Pro Tour Championships. So it's going to be a fun finish to the year. Josh, before we move on, we got to take a look at what changed this weekend in the standings as players make the push to qualify for MVP, get into the Tour Championship spots, etc. And we got a great email on the topic from Robert, who goes by Rob. Shout out Rob from Detroit. So Rob broke it down for us. Do you want to just take us through this, Josh?
Yeah. Let's. So big picture change here on MPO. There were no changes on who is in the top 32. So that movement didn't change. Those who were in were staying in. Though there are a couple of things
in MPO.
In MPO, correct. In MPO. Couple of things though that make it interesting. Luke Humphreys drops from 28th to 32nd. He was the one that was kind of on watch, right?
Clinging to life.
Yeah. Only 1.5 points. So the line between 32 and 33 right now is 27 points, 25 points.
Who's in the 33rd spot?
I'm going to come to that. I'll be right back on that.
Okay. All right.
I want to point out, and Rob doesn't highlight these as much, but I think there's really, you've got, the bottom 5 players, I think are your at-risk players. Cole Redolin is at 465. He is not playing because of injury. So even if I don't know if he was going to try and be back for the Pro Tour Championship or if he's taking the season off, but by not playing, I think he's definitely got a little bit of risk of falling out. Mason Ford scores 48 points with a 19th place finish to kind of keep himself in there and get up, but he is still also in that bubble line. Robert Burridge only scored 1.5 points. He's at 462. Emerson Keith only scored 24 points. He's at 438. And Luke Humphreys scored 1.5 points at 434. So that's where your bubble players really sit. You had a couple people. Eagle jumped from 32nd to 24th. Evan Smith jumped from 31st to 21st.
Evan Smith been cooking.
Yes, and this is
he
back.
could finish top 20 on the season with another good weekend.
Yes, he could. And Rob points out, and this is courtesy of Rob, that they're on the cusp of going from a 0-stroke advantage to a negative 3-stroke advantage, which means they only have to make up 7 strokes on Gannon Buhr.
Well, they'll be able to do that for sure, right?
right, definitely. I have so much faith. After that, Rob points out that there are 29 players registered at MVP who mathematically cannot make it into the DGPT championships.
Unless they win.
Unless they win. Good clarification. But I think in a more realistic scenario, you have... here's the players I think have a chance. Bradley Williams had a top 20 finish to give himself 40 points. That would be enough to overcome Luke Humphreys, or that would be enough to overcome Luke Humphreys if they were to score the same points. So if Bradley Williams does another top 20 finish and Luke Humphreys has a stinker, Bradley Williams is in, Luke Humphreys is out. All they got to do is repeat from last week. You need a little bit better of a finish, but you have a player who, Alden Harris, scored 103 points with a 4th place finish. If he has another nice showing, like Alden Harris, I think was out of it, but he, with his performance, would have enough to catch any of the players that I mentioned in the bubble with a similar performance, like top 5, even, top 10 might be enough.
That would be a huge dub.
Get him in. Yeah. So that could move him in, which would be really incredible. You have, just by proximity, Ezra Aderhold, though he didn't perform great at GMC. He was the one we were watching. He was first out before Bradley Williams jumped him. And Jake Hebenheimer is the other one. He had 18 points from a top 40 finish. Not bad. That would not be enough to get him in, though. If he repeats, he's going to need to step it up. So that's kind of where we're sitting on MPO.
It's on y'all.
Yeah.
You got to go out there and perform. And if you do, you're going to make the Tour Championship. I mean, it really does seem that simple.
Yep.
Of course, Luke Humphreys controls his own destiny, sitting in the 32 spot.
Yep.
So that's cool. How about this? Gannon only needs to finish MVP. He can literally just clunk it away no matter what. He will get 1.5 points simply for finishing, and that will lock up the number 1 seed. Ricky cannot catch him.
Even if Ricky wins.
If Ricky wins, he would get to 1442 and 3/4, which means he misses out on Gannon if Gannon gets the minimum by a 1/4 point. That's crazy. But obviously, Gannon is very unlikely to only score 1.5 points, given the level that he's playing at right now. Let me ask you this real quick. This is kind of like a prelude to our conversation in a moment about Gannon. Who had the better stretch, Gannon right now, or Ricky in the European summer?
Gannon right now. They're 4-round events. Ricky didn't win the major when he was on that stretch, which is the only 4-round event in that stretch. And it's like the level is higher right now. So
we got some crazy stats for you folks.
Yeah, we
about
really
what Gannon is doing. All right, break down FPO for us.
Yes. So FPO did have some movement. After GMC, Hannah Wynn gets in. Stacy Kiefer falls out. They still are only separated by 4 points, but that really does feel like just whichever one wants it more this week is going to be the one who's going to have that opportunity. And the other changes, nothing too significant. Silva goes from 14th to 11th, gaining a 1-stroke advantage. There are 9 players registered for MVP who mathematically cannot make it in unless they win. 4 who don't really have a chance. 3 players, though. It really is 3 players finishing for last spot.
Yeah.
Which is Hannah Wynn at 608, Stacy Kiefer at 604, Eleazar Midling at 592. Jessica Weiss drops all the way down to 509, essentially needing a podium in order to give her a chance. There are a handful. If you get a podium, you're in. You could get yourself in.
Jessica Weiss, Stacey Ronsley, Allie Smith. That's pretty much it. I think if one of those three like has a mega weekend, like really has to be probably third or better.
I think it's third.
And they would need help from the people above them.
Right.
They would have a chance, but you'd have to really play great.
The one that Rob notes is interesting. Lisa Fakis did not play at GMC. She also DNF'd D-Glow. She is registered for MVP, but question mark about her status. There is a possibility then that two of our bubble players, we mentioned the three, two of them could get in, but that would still require a pretty big performance because Lisa is 90 points ahead, 85 points ahead of Stacy Kiefer, and then a little over 90 points ahead of Eliezer Midling.
It's like two people would need to podium.
Correct. Well, yeah. It would have to be both to podium. So it unlikely. Like Lisa probably doesn't even have to play, and she probably is going to be okay and get in.
Yep.
At the top, a little more interest. Top four players all could get in the number one seed, still within 51 points of each other. If any one of them wins and the others get the other three get fourth or worse, then that winner gets the number one seed, except Kristen, who even if she wins would need Holland to get fifth.
That's right. I was just looking at that. I wasn't looking at the email. I was getting ready to say, I think Kristen needs Holland to get fifth if she wins.
Don't worry. Rob's got us covered.
Rob's all over it.
Rob is all over it. And so that is a possibility. Holland took fourth at GMC and really kind of clawed back in that final round at Fox Run. That's not going to be available to her next year or here at Maple Hill. You've got to play Will in the Woods. But for all of to say you need Kristen to win and Missy, Owen, and Holland to not be on the podium, let me just put it this way: my podium probably will not reflect that.
Yeah, that's a lot to ask.
A lot to ask.
Kristen's never won MVP Open. She's got close. She's in playoff, right? And
playoff, and then on hole 18 lost last year to Haley.
Yeah.
And then lost in a playoff to Natalie Ryan, right?
That's right. That's
2 years ago. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So she's been close.
I mean, the way this season's going, she's going to lay an egg and then hang around, and then a player with a 7-shot lead is going to go, and then Kristen will win in the end.
That's correct. That's correct.
Well, great notes. There's definitely some spots on the line. I didn't really check the bubble for people to get into MVP. Any interesting names? I mean, the thing is, it doesn't even matter. Like, people decline spot. I mean, they went 30 players past the limit at GMC or something like that with invites, which I feel like I get that they want to fill the tournament. They want to have the purse, etc. But like, it just, to me, it continues to feel like kind of a joke. The idea that that's like a playoff.
Yep.
There's nothing. The only thing that makes it interesting is the fact that there's worth more points and you can't drop the events.
Yep.
So it is what it is. Time to talk Gannon, I think.
Yes, let's talk about Gannon.
So Gannon Buhr, what was his lead coming into the final round? 5 shots?
Hold on. We've got a graphic from Reed. Yeah, it was 5 shots.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at this graphic in just a moment, but I just want to talk a little bit about it first. Right? Yeah. It has felt lately that Gannon is dominating to an extent that you're like, do I really need to watch the final round? And like, I don't know, the GMC final round wasn't over until midway through the back 9. Like, it wasn't like really 100% over. So it's not like there was like zero drama whatsoever. He didn't go up by 10 shots and just crush.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, he obviously had a lot of wiggle room, and the level he's playing at is just on another level right now. And I want to take you through some of the stats. I mentioned what I'm about to explain in the rapid reacts, and I'm just going to run through it again real quick because when I looked it up, I was thinking, is this real right now? But it really is. Here are Gannon's stats from GMC. Okay. Obviously, he led the tournament in birdie rate. Obviously, he led the tournament in circle 1 regulation. No surprises there. But you know what else, Josh? He led the field in scramble percentage, 13 for 16. He led the field in strokes gained tee to green. Okay, no surprise. Okay. He was second in strokes gained putting. He was 95 and 60 on the putting green.
And before people ask the question, he went 9 of 15 on Circle 2 putting.
Ridiculous.
Like, it's not like it was like, it wasn't 3 of 5, right?
Right. The only player in front of him was Andrew Marweed, who actually shot 95-50. So like percentage-wise was worse, but probably because he made more C1 and C2 putts, it ends up like looking better for his strokes gained putting. But he was negative 5 3/4 tee to green. So like, it's not quite a perfect comparison. Like he was able to do really well on the green, but I think there's a case to be made that Gannon actually putted better. Right. He just was driving so well that like it sort of minimized the amount of putts he had to make.
In Circle 2, Andrew Marweed went 11 for 22. Gannon went 9 for 15. So, Andrew Marweed makes
both
more
tremendous
strokes.
Performances.
Yes. But I agree with the argument that I think Gannon putted better.
Gannon's 60% Circle 2 putting matched Eagle, who was 12 for 20. He's been looking great on the greens. Mm-hmm. And Tristan Tanner led the way at 63% at 10 for 16. So some nice putting performances in general this past weekend. But I mean, Gannon is basically doing everything better than everyone. It's not like he's just winning on tee shots or he's just winning on the green. Like he is the best player in all categories right now. And that's why he's coming into final rounds with big leads.
Well, and I think what's even more impressive is that we know for a fact that the quality of the courses as we come down the stretch gets better. They are courses that challenge a more complete skill set, that are time and tested on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and really showcase the completeness of a game. And that's, I think, highlights the fact that Gannon's been so dominant. Speaks to the completeness of his game. There's no deficiency, except maybe putting on prodigy baskets, which is something I said in the reacts. But otherwise, like he is a complete player from top to bottom. It's also the reason that Ricky has performed well over the past stretch, is because Ricky is also arguably one of the most well-rounded players in the forehand backhand combo, as well as putting both from distance and from consistency in short range. And like that is highlighted and elevated on courses coming down the stretch.
I mean, Rick, after a little bit of a slow start to the season, he started off, well, he was second at chess.com. AB beat him. But then 10th, 17th, 12th. But since then, I think he's only missed the top 10 twice, and he's like been all over the podium. Yeah. Unfortunately for him, he's often been in second or third behind Gannon.
Yes.
And like he plays great, and it's just not enough because Gannon is putting together 1,100 rated rounds. Mm-hmm. I think Gannon's around 2, 16 down. He like missed a circle 1 putt. Like it was ridiculous. He like made fun of himself in an Instagram post. He's like, what was it? It was like, tough day out there. Missed a circle 1 putt. I mean, this has been a crazy stretch, and it's been such a crazy stretch that I went and I asked at Mando, is this the greatest stretch we've ever seen? And shout out to my guy, Evan, over at Stat Mando, because he dropped the knowledge. Okay. I wanted to see, like, as a 10-round chunk, whether this was the best ever, because I'm going to give you Gannon's round ratings over the last 10 rounds. Okay?
Okay.
You ready? This is I need to go to GMC's page because it's not up on his ratings detail yet. So here we go. So GMC 1046, 1096, 1055, 1079. Okay.
Okay.
The RIP, the A tier he played up in Canada, 1094, 1075, 1092. And then at D-Glow, he went 1041, 1083, 1077, 1051. So he hasn't even had a round in the month of September below 1040.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's not quite possible to look at just a 10-round chunk, but Evan did take a look at his month and compare it to the best months ever. Okay.
Minimum
Gannon Buhr,
6 rounds in a month.
Sorry?
Minimum 6 rounds
Minimum
in a month.
6 rounds, yeah. So
Yes.
you can't have
Yeah,
any
yeah.
like fluky outliers.
Yeah, one tournament.
Gannon Buhr is averaged in September 1071.7. That's his average round rating this month. That is second best to the 1071.8 of Paul Macbeth from March of 2019 in what was a tremendous, tremendous year for Macbeth in 2019. That said, this is the most rounds ever at 1075 or above in a given month. Gannon has done that 7 times here in September. Macbeth did it in March 2019 and March 2022 5 times. And then it's also the most rounds ever in a month at 1090 or better. Gannon has done it 3 times this month. It's been done 17 times twice in a month, including Ricky earlier this year in July and AB earlier this year in March. So the Gannon's worst round rating in the month is 1041. That's tied for the 10th, I guess one could call it best all time. Macbeth in September 2020 didn't shoot worse than 1046. So, like, no matter how you want to slice this, this is a historic performance from Gannon Buhr.
2 notes that I think are important. Number 1, Gannon's GMC round ratings are still unofficial. There is a chance that they could bump up, which might give him the 10th of a point necessary to tie Macbeth for the best round rating ever. The other thing that's noteworthy is that Macbeth's 2019, March of 2019, when he had the 1071.8, that was only 10 rounds in the month. And Gannon's number comes from 11 rounds, which in my mind makes it more impressive because he's maintaining a level of consistency over more rounds than Macbeth. I mean, all the other ones, Wysocki has 3rd and 4th. Both of those were 10 rounds. And then McMahon has 5th, and he's got it with 7 rounds. So Gannon's 11 rounds are the most rounds that are used in this kind of calculation for best average rating.
Yeah, which only adds to the impressiveness of what we've seen. And there was a big thread on Reddit. People complaining that it's boring. That it's just too... why watch if Gannon just going to slaughter everybody? And Reed in the Discord, Josh already nudged it, put together a graphic. Now, we know lots of people just listen as a pod, so we'll describe it. But if you're watching on YouTube, take a look at the graphic right here. This is showing the average lead after the second to last round, and then the total margin of victory over the course of the season in MPO. And if you look from chess.com to the start of the season to Des Moines Challenge, there were only a couple of times where we had blowouts going into the final round. And we only had a couple of times where the average margin of victory was more than 3 strokes. Mm-hmm. And we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times when the win was 1 stroke.
Also 7 times that the winner was not the leader going into the final round.
Yeah,
or not the outright leader.
Yeah. So the average lead from chess.com to DMC going into the final round was just over 2 strokes. And the average margin of victory was about 2.4 strokes.
Can I add one thing as well?
You can.
There's also an outlier that would drastically change these numbers. Gannon at Portland Open went into the final round with a 10-stroke lead and won by 8. So if you remove that 10-stroke lead, that drops the average almost a full stroke, it looks like.
Yeah, I think it would probably push it down to below a 2-stroke average.
Oh, yeah.
Lead going into the final round.
I'll do numbers while you keep talking.
Great. So once we go to Europe, and we look at the stretch from Krokl Open up to the Green Mountain Championships this past weekend, the average lead after the penultimate round is 4.25, more than double what it was earlier this year. And the average margin of victory was 3.25. And there's a whole lot of Gannon Buhr with 3-shot leads or more in this stretch. We have had some close races. Idlewild, Calvin Heimberg led by a stroke after the second to last round. And then, of course, Joey Buckets ended up winning it. That was very exciting. But otherwise, we've kind of had a lot of blowouts, and the leader has won every other time. A lot of Gannon, some Ricky at European Disc Golf Festival in Krokl, of course, Isaac Robinson at Worlds. So it genuinely has been a lot less competitive in the last, let's say, since July. So 3 months. It has not been nearly as exciting in MPO.
Yep. For reference, Charlie, I removed Gannon from the first half of the season.
Yeah.
It drops to 1.5.
Wow, really?
It drops half a stroke.
Wow.
Lead. So you're averaging less than 2 strokes per tournament.
Yeah, because there were a couple times when there was a tie, so the lead was 0.
Yeah. It really does feel night and day, and it's because Gannon Buhr has been so good, and Ricky, to Ricky's credit, he was good in Europe, and that's part of the reason as well, is that he really set himself up for success in Europe before those final rounds, but. Gannon, and there have been, European Open was very exciting. Gannon went in with a 3-stroke lead, and it was still very exciting.
He won, but it was down to literally the last hole.
Correct. And if you're looking at this graphic, you might think, that's just another one in the series. Maybe, but not really. But if the moral of the story is Gannon is so good over 3 rounds that he builds a lead that takes Herculean efforts to overcome. And at European Open, Ricky put together a Herculean effort and couldn't overcome it. And nobody else has challenged Gannon to nearly the same extent for the most part in the past couple months. And it's just stellar performances from Gannon.
So, do you feel like people are overreacting to a few tournaments of kind of blowout wins?
Overreacting in what way? In terms of it's boring to watch?
Yeah, is that
yes.
Is that too much?
Yeah.
When we still have had lots of exciting close tournaments this year?
Yes, it is too much. The recency bias of disc golf is very strong. And
people accuse us of that.
And people accuse us of that. And I don't think they're wrong sometimes. But especially there, I think when you look at the social media of disc golf, and the recency bias is definitely a strong one. And it's true that it has not been as exciting as of late because of Gannon's success. But I don't think it's something that tragically defines the MPO division, and it's just not worth watching anymore. I also think that, watching Gannon shoot, and I will say the final rounds when Gannon has that kind of lead aren't quite as exciting because it doesn't require him to play super well. But you can't tell me you didn't have a good time watching Gannon shred in round 2. And if you didn't, then I don't know really why you watch disc golf, because that was an incredible performance. And so I think it's a little bit of an overreaction. We used to get seasons of this from Macbeth, so I'm not as quick to jump to that same reaction as everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It feels a little bit like Gannon can't lose right now.
Sure.
But And even if you look over the entirety of the season, it's been a dominant year.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know, like before the pandemic, Paige won like 90% of tournaments.
Yeah.
And Paul and Ricky used to just absolutely clean house. Like there's more unique winners in MPO now than there have ever been before, unless you want to look back to last year.
Right.
Right. Like if you compare this year to last year, it's like, well, last year was more exciting. I'm not going to argue with you.
Sure.
It was pretty crazy last year. It's still been interesting this season.
Yeah.
And you just can't expect that every single week we're going to see a one-shot lead down the stretch every time. That said, I think part of this has to do with the fact that people don't want to watch Gannon win.
Yes.
They don't like watching Gannon. They don't like the attitude. They don't like the fact that he makes it look too easy. They, for
like
whatever
to be slow.
reason, there's like when Macbeth dominated, everybody was so hyped, and they just don't feel the same way about Gannon. Maybe because Gannon isn't as like effusive. It doesn't react as much when he hits a big circle 2 putt.
Sure.
It's almost like makes it look like maybe there's something about Macbeth that makes people feel like they could be like him, right? Like, but Macbeth's not that. He's not that tall.
Yep.
He's not that jacked. He's he like kind of looks more everyman, and Gannon looks like he's got ape index of 1.5 or something, and is throwing in a way that most people feel like is impossible for them, and he's making putts look so easy. But he switched putters, by the way, Josh, and since then he has just absolutely lit up the basket. Lit it up.
Do you know what he's putting with? I heard they're releasing a putter for him. Is that what he's putting with?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I saw Dana Avicii post about this on Twitter. Let me pull it up real quick. Gannon Buhr's play, and Dana works for Discmania. Gannon Buhr's play since he switched putters, 1092, 1074, 1094, 1046, 1096, 1066. So, I mean, obviously we're describing essentially the same stretch of time here, but
sure.
It's I think the P2X is what they're calling it.
Okay. So maybe like a beaded P2?
I mean, I'm not the guy to ask.
I didn't know, because I know what a P3X is.
P2X approved by the PDGA 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yep.
This is the new putter for Gannon. It's a PA3 clone.
Oh, okay.
So
they they just made him a PA3.
That sounds like they're making him a PA3.
So that he could putt with that.
So yes, it's beaded.
Uh-huh.
Hence the X. The link is slightly deeper, so it flies a little bit differently than this one. I'm just kind of like skimming notes here. So anyway, it's approved. It's in his bag. He's been shredding, and it will be available soon for people to buy, and I'm sure people will buy it.
I mean, look, if you want to putt like Gannon, and that is the easiest. Gosh, that advertisement is just a breeze, right? Like you put up the numbers.
Put the list up.
Just put the list up. Put the list up. Put the putting stats up, and be like, "This is what happens when you switch to the P2X from Discmania." They are gonna fly off the shelves.
Well, hey, shout out to the PA3.
Yeah, it's a popular putter,
and they keep cloning it at other manufacturers.
I like the P2 and the AVR have always been like the thing that most manufacturers clone. Like everybody, and especially during the pandemic when you couldn't get them, like that's like the typical putter. Like I think the PA3s though are like would be the other kind of model that companies are just going to make as the default most popular putter. Shallow, blocky, flat, like it's closer to what I putt with. That's for sure. I much prefer that feel over your traditional cereal bowl.
Judge till I die.
That's okay. All right. Honestly, the Judge is probably closer to the PA3 than it is the AVR.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a great putter. Everybody's got their favorite.
Everyone's got their favorite.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Steve Dodge will join us to talk about MVP Open coming up in 2 days. We're not doing our full preview. We'll have that for you tomorrow. But we will talk to Steve right now and get you ready for the course changes, the new pin positions, more information about the tournament. So stay with us. You're listening to The Upshot. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. Well, the standard and deluxe Rufuses are going to be winding down, and moving forward, Pound is only going to be offering the double convertible version of the Rufus. But to use up the last of the deluxe Rufus fabric, Pound is releasing several small runs of the super deluxe Rufus. They have an additional upper detail pocket, upgraded mesh and shoulder pads, and two-tone zippers. You got to grab one of these before they're gone for good. So go to pounddiscgolf.com and grab yourself a super deluxe Rufus today.
The aches and pains of age can creep up on you quickly. That doesn't mean you have to suffer in silence. Our sponsor, Sunset Lake CBD, has just what you need to soothe your aching joints and calm down those sore spots. As hemp farmers, the folks at Sunset Lake know what it means to be sore after a long day in the fields. That's why they make their products with top shelf ingredients, including CBD they grow themselves. From salves and rubs to gummies and tinctures, Sunset Lake CBD has everything you need to find relief at the end of your day. So if you're out for a long day of disc golf, and I've had this myself, you carrying the bag, maybe playing 2 rounds in a day, and you're getting up in age a little bit, need a little bit of Sunset Lake CBD, like a salve on your back after a long day of disc golf. I'll tell you what, feels amazing. You go to Sunset Lake CBD, offering listeners 20% off all orders if you use code UPSHOT at checkout. So sunsetlakecbd.com, use code UPSHOT at checkout. Sunset Lake CBD, farmer owned, Vermont grown.
Joining us now on the Upshot is the TD of the MVP Open, the purveyor of the Maple Hill Disc Golf Course, and the founder of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, Steve Dodge. Steve, welcome back.
Thank you, Charlie. Great to see you. Hi, Josh. How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks to have you. Glad to have you, Steve.
So, Steve, tomorrow, MVP Open gets started. Yes, I know we're recording this Tuesday, but it's airing on Wednesday. So how are you feeling? This is always such a busy week. I was just looking through the calendar of events, and I feel like there's maybe no event on tour that does as much as what you do up at Maple Hill.
I don't know if that's true. I know that we try to make sure our spectators have a great time. I woke up this morning leaving the house, and my wife asked me, "How do you feel?" And I said, "Confident and excited." It feels like we have the best staff we've ever had, and I'm able to delegate things and literally forget about them because I know they're going to be done and done well. The captains are all stepping up, and the whole organization is actually becoming an organization, which is the first thing. And we're able to make the spectator experience just that much better. Yesterday morning, for the people listening, we actually did our very first Pro-Am, which we were talking about before we started. And it's going off very well. The people paid a pretty penny. The players are getting paid pretty pennies. And we had a nice continental breakfast. We've got a catered lunch afterwards, and everybody gets to just meet and greet upstairs in this App House game room. And it feels like we're running on all cylinders, and we're getting really close to what I would like disc golf events to be. And thanks for noticing.
Pro-Am tickets started at $500. The high end $1,000. How many tickets did you sell?
Well, we intended to do 12, but I accidentally invited 13 pros, and they all said yes. So I invited one more, and we went up to 14, so we could have a full card. So we sold 14 tickets. We had 4 of the first class, 5 of the business class, and 5 of the economy class.
Wow. Very, very cool. And I saw we had a lot to talk about today. You changed your ticket structure overall for this tournament. It's now like the tees. So, red and white and diamond and whatnot. And then, the very high end gold VIP mega pack, which comes with all kinds of benefits. And so I'm curious about that one in particular because I saw it sold out and I saw there's already a waiting list for 2025.
Yeah.
How many of those do you sell? Are you explaining, and how much were they? And are you planning to expand that in the future given the level of demand that you've seen?
They were $1,000. We sell 12 of them. They do sell out very quickly, and we do have a waiting list for them. The waiting list, I think the last I checked, there were 7 people on the waiting list. And so if 7 of the people don't re-up, then those people will come in next year. I'll go ahead and I'll give you guys an industry exclusive here. We are planning on having 2 sets of Insider Pass, and we're actually training someone this year. Todd runs the Insider Pass program, and he has an assistant who is with him this year, and then next year would run the second group of Insider Pass people. So we are going to be expanding it. However, the expansion is actually going to be a part of the Glitch World Championship qualifiers. So if you want to get into that second group of the Insider Pass, which actually is going to include 4 hotel nights, all you have to do is get here. We cover everything after that. The only way to get that is through the Glitch World Championship qualifier. And then we'll have 2 sets of Insider Passes. And I don't know what we're going to do in 26, but that's the plans for 25. But these people get to go bowling with the pros the night before the tournament. They get to play the course when she's all gussied up. They're doing that actually Wednesday morning. They get to take a couple of rounds with the course designer, one during the women's round, one during the men's round on different days. They get a brewery tour. We're partnered with a brewery, so they go to the brewery, have a tasting and cheese boards, and the beer master shows them all the kilns or whatever it is that breweries use. There's something every night for them to do with the whole meet and greet, and it's a really special experience. And the people last year were over the moon. And we'd never done it before. And they were just like, if you just tighten these things up, you've got a major league experience here.
It sounds like just like you said, a VIP experience for sure. In terms of all your levels of tickets, how many spectators are you expecting to have this weekend total?
We'll be well over 4,000 over the 4 days. My goal is 5,000. So we had 4,000 last year. And I want to push to 5,000. I will admit we didn't quite sell as many. I had a goal in mind for ticket sales, and we're about 10% off of that. Although maybe in the next 2 days we'll sell some more tickets. But yeah, between 4,000 and 5,000, we're going to probably have 750 to 800 the first couple of days and get up to 1,200, 1,500 in the last couple of days.
So, I think the big news this year for MVP is that there's quite a few changes to the course. A few months ago now, the photo dropped online of a new covered bridge triple mando on hole 1. And, that really got the people going. Some people loved it. Some people hated it. Obviously, we haven't seen it played yet by professional competitors, so we'll see how it plays itself out. But I think maybe let's start there. What was the impetus for wanting to make that change? It's certainly an attractive little bridge that you've built, but do we need to make hole 1 harder?
So I'll say the impetus behind there were 3 goals. And I will take offense at one of the words you used in that question, Charlie, which is the word little.
Okay.
It does in the pick. I've not had a single person that said that's what I expected. To a person, everybody walks up to it and says that's a lot bigger than I expected. So, and I don't take serious offense, but I take but enough.
Mild offense.
Mild offense. So
Noted.
the three purposes behind the triple mando are, number one, when the hole was originally designed, the woods to the left and the right were thick woods. And we had an opening into the green, the peninsula green. And if you were off to the sides of that opening, you had basically no chance to throw through those woods. But disc golfers, being disc golfers, would go ahead and try to throw through those woods. And over 15 years, the woods get thinner. And I was actually talking to one of the players yesterday who said, I think that triple mando is my fault. And I laughed and I said, what? Not any particular person. He said, no. Last year, I was way off right, and I just pitched a putt right up through it. I actually hit the basket, but didn't go in. And he said the guys on his card were like shaking their head, like someone in table tennis when you hit the edge of the table. And you're just like, sorry, everybody. That's my bad. And that's the reason, that's the primary reason that the triple mando was built, was the intention of the hole is to go through the opening. And the woods around it are intended to be as thick as they've always been. So we're bringing back the concept of going through the opening. And I went out of my way to not have any of the branches above and in front of it cut because, well, number one, it looks like it's been there forever. But number two, that ceiling, the top of the triple mando, isn't artificially created. There are branches there anyway. So if you're going to go through the opening, that's the opening that you would go through. It's designed to match what was always there. The second goal of it is, now that the woods are thin on this side, I personally, I don't know if you guys know this, I love spectators. And I want them to have the most amazing experience. I am always pushing to get the spectators closer to the action. And other people push back on that. And we have wonderful little conversations. And at this point, it's actually kind of a joke. But I think in general, we get a little closer to where I want to be than where they want to be. And I want fans flanking that triple mando. We're going to give a little buffer zone because I don't want them getting their faces smashed in. But we've actually cleared those woods even more. So where the fans will be standing, they will have a fantastic view all the way up to the bleachers on hole one, the FPO and they'll be able to watch people play the hole the entire way. And so that's going to become another great spectating area. And it's a red spectating. It's for everybody. Red, white, blue, all the way up. The third reason I wanted to build this is I wanted to show, and this is probably coming from my wife. If you do something, it needs to be beautiful. People want to feel proud of what they're playing. They want to feel proud of disc golf. They're playing this game, and so it needs to be substantial. You need to know 100% if you made it or you didn't. And so the walls are 3 or 4 feet thick on the sides and the top. And the thing looks like a New England covered bridge. It's gorgeous. It's 4 feet deep. And that was very intentional, to make it beautiful. And in my opinion, if as a sport, we want to take a step and bring triple mandos into the game in other locations, I think it's important that they fit the aesthetic of the course. They be beautiful. It's easy to tell if you're in or out. And that's what we did. So those are the 3 reasons that we built the triple mando.
Tell us about hole 9 then. I think that's the other big significant change to the course, and I want to hear about that one too.
So I will go ahead and say hole 1 and hole 9 both have alternate pins. Those are the 2 holes on the course that have alternate pins. So on day 1, we'll be playing the short hole 1, which is just over the pond, and we'll be playing the long hole 9, which is the one you just referenced, Josh. The long hole 9, probably about 10 or 12 years ago, Steve Brinster said to me, you should punch this hole through those woods over there. And I genuinely thought he was insane. And then then the Pro Tour comes along and kids start playing disc golf in the womb, and it's and next thing you know, they're on tour and they've got 40 years of experience and they're 12 years old, and it's just ridiculous what they can do with discs. So all of a sudden, it's not insane. And Gage Benson designed the par 4 that came into existence last year that was a little controversial, but I think overall positive. And he designed the par 5. We all looked over there and just said, it should go over there. And then Gage built the whole thing and limbed the trees that needed to be limbed, cut the ones that needed to be cut. And it's probably about if you're at the old tee or equidistant, if you're on a parallel plane with that old tee, it's probably about a 250 to 280 foot shot uphill to get to the new pin. And it is stunning up there. And we actually obviously cleared room behind the pin so that spectators who are back in the back of the property can watch those shots coming in.
So this is all Steve Brinster's fault, is what you're saying.
It's Steve Brinster and all of the players, because watching them throw these discs, I just want to see it throw more and more. It's our first par 5.
Yeah, right. And I know you've been long against the par 5 as a concept. What finally got you to feel like, yeah, I'm willing to do a par 5 on my course?
Last year, when we did a course review, Calvin Heimberg said, if you're going to change pin positions in disc golf, it should be different than the way they do it in golf. And he said it should be a significant change. And he talked about how excited he was. We're going to have an alternate pin on hole 1. And he thought we were going to play the short pin last year, and we didn't. But he put the idea in our heads, hey, we could do that. And then the next step was, wait, we want to do a par 5 on hole 9. We could play them both. And obviously, traditionally, I've been against par 5s. And I have to tell you, I've played that hole a couple of times, the par 5. It's ridiculously fun to play it. I think I was wrong on that. And
no, Steve Dodge on the pod said he thinks he was wrong about something.
It's really, well, I was also wrong about whether or not I could make the Pro Tour work in 2019, but that's that's a whole different story. Yeah, the game, if you look at shots gained tee to green and shots gained putting, driving is overemphasized in our sport. If you want those two to be balanced the way they are in golf. But it doesn't necessarily need to be. My problem with par 5s is you're going through the woods and you have no idea what a good shot is. I'm going to argue on this par 5, you know exactly what a good shot is. There is an obvious landing zone after your first shot. If you get a fantastic shot, you have a significant decision on your second shot. Am I going to throw 200 feet and get in a nice landing area? Or am I going to go for this ridiculous shot and try to get the eagle? Which I think would be a ridiculous shot. You could do it, but the over-under on eagles is a half. And Gage and I are on opposite sides of that, but it's not, neither of us is confident.
Josh, let's go. Josh, let's go.
Give me the over.
All right,
I'll see an eagle.
Someone's
Charlie,
probably going to figure it out. Did you take the over or the under, Steve?
Charlie and I are on the same side there. Yeah, I don't think it's happening, but we'll see.
I'll take the whole designer on my side.
Good idea.
I mean, it's only 600 feet, so it's pretty short.
No. That's not correct. Where is?
Oh, that's FPO. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. It's 850 feet.
Yeah. So
could FPO get an eagle? At 600 feet.
Again, I wouldn't bet on it, but they're going to have a better shot, in my opinion, because some of them can throw up and over that hill, and that's what you need. But then you have to be really aggressive on that second shot, and then you have to hit a big putt. I love the fact that it's very hard to eagle. I mean, that's what it should be. So anyway, it's possible that I was wrong on par 5s. I don't want to see more than 2 on any course. I don't. because it is the one at Northwood that everybody talks about. For me, that's just a slog to spectate. I've talked to players and they love it. But for spectating, I'm just like, what? Okay, so now we're just in the woods somewhere. I don't have any idea.
So yeah, I mean, I think the other big thing, and we've already started talking about it a little bit, is alternate pin positions. So hole one, you're playing just past the water for the first 2 rounds, and then through the triple mando onto the traditional green for the final 2 rounds. And then on 9, is it the same thing? The original pin position for the second 2 rounds?
Saturday, Sunday, yeah.
Got it. So, Josh and I think both have been big proponents of wanting to see more alternate pin locations. And as Calvin, I think, properly points out, it's hard to move the basket 30 feet and meaningfully change the hole unless you have a very significant obstacle that feels like it somehow changes the putt. But, putting is just so much easier in disc golf that, like, it's not going to be the same as golf. I'm pretty excited about this. Why did you choose to do rounds 1, 2, and 3, 4 for your splits? I feel like it's more common to see, 1, 3, 2, 4.
Well, this is, I'll just be honest rather than try to come up with some clever reason. I want to encourage spectators to come on Thursday, Friday. If you want, we sell tickets Saturday, Sunday. But if you want to see the new holes at Maple Hill and see the best people in the world play them, you got to be here Thursday, Friday.
It's a good reason. I thought it was gonna be you didn't want to move baskets 4 times. When you said I'm gonna be honest with you, I thought you were gonna say I don't want to move baskets in between every round.
John, I apologize. We are not lazy here. We do ridiculous things to make things just the way we want them.
I should know better.
Yeah. I will say it did work out well, though, because Friday night, if you come on Friday, in addition to watching the new holes, you also get to participate in the 20K CTP giveaway. And you get to sit in the bleachers and we hand $100 bills to people like they're made of paper.
You can just drop one in the mail for me and Josh. We'll be watching.
Yeah.
If you guys send $20 to the Northeast Women's Disc Golf Group, we will reserve 2 seats for you guys on the bleachers, and we'll put your little raffle tickets there. And I'm sure somebody will let us know if they're picked.
I might do that.
Charlie's like, raffle odds, put 20 to 100. I think I could get on those odds.
Okay,
degenerate better over here on the pod.
I'm a marketing genius, and all I do is make money. Those raffle tickets are $20 each, and there's 150 of them. So I'm bringing in $3,000.
Yep.
And I'm giving away to the spectators in the bleachers, I'm giving away $4,000. So that's how smart I am.
It's a plus EV bet, Josh.
Correct.
We got to get our money down.
We got it.
In fact, I'll buy all 150 tickets.
You are not
Sorry,
able
spectators.
to. 12 of them are going to the Insider Pass people already. So
I think Charlie would take those odds. I think he's willing to give up 12.
Normally you've done this. So we've seen the $1 million shot thing. That didn't last. We're now on the 20K giveaway. CTP. You have historically chosen these players to compete in this based on the precision power index that UDisc created. But does UDisc still do any of that? How are you choosing players this year? UDisc is not in the game.
That is a great question. So luckily, UDisc had the PPI last year, and that's how we got the players.
Right.
And now the people who got first and second last year are our 2 finalists or semifinalists for this year. And then 2 additional people get in for the fan vote. And when I say this, I mean for MPO and FPO. So we have a total of 8 players. 2 and 2 are via fan vote, and 2 and 2 are the finalists and
Got it.
First runner-up from last year.
Got it. Do we have our player list then? Is it decided?
The fan vote is going on and through Wednesday. So through today, if you go to MVP Open by OTB Facebook page, that's where you can vote. and maybe Instagram, but I'm old, so I don't know.
You mentioned MVP via OTB. What are like disc sales like? I'm sure you're doing disc and other sales in order to increase purse sizes. Being a playoff event, you have less registrants, so you've historically had more added cash, and I'd love to hear what those added cash numbers are. Where is most of that money coming from? Is it disc sales and exclusive MVP drops?
So I have always divided the money up in my head, and I'm pretty strict with this. All of the ticket sales, all of that money goes to the payout. So the more tickets we sell, the bigger the payout's going to be. And I'll let you in on a secret. It's going to be basically about the same as last year. Because our ticket sales, they might go up by $100. They might go down by 100. I was looking at the numbers last night and actually commented to the group, and I said, these numbers, like the way it's trending, we're going to hit the exact same number, which is comical. For you work really hard and you get the exact same result. It's like, come on. But anyway, so payout's going to be basically about the same, or I should say, added cash. If I don't know what we're charging players, so if that went up, then the payout will go up a little bit. But overall, added cash will be about the same. And then all of the sponsor money goes to, pay staff. And I actually take 1/3 of my salary of all of the things that I do in my life. 1/3 of my income comes from this tournament. So we're at that stage, and I dedicate more than 4 months of my life to this tournament, but it's, I think it'll work in the long run. It already has worked much better than everybody who starts as a TD. Nobody expects to make money. And I'm actually making 1/3 of a living running an event, which is a very positive thing.
Actually, what I want to ask you, I don't expect you to have like some big take on the situation, but I'm sure you heard about the Jonathan Ray story where, they were going to run the Masters at Bud Hill, and then the money was gone. He'd used the money throughout the year, didn't end up making it back from the other tournaments he was running. And I think fairly has started some discourse about like, what does it mean to be a TD in disc golf? And obviously running a Pro Tour event is kind of the big thing that you do, is a very different story than being one of the local TDs who's running a zillion C tiers. Do you feel like the sport is set up well for TDs to succeed? And if you have any thoughts on the Jonathan Ray situation.
So I remember back in, I think, 2015 and 16, the PDGA ran an event called the Directors Cup. And I felt that was a very good resource. I went to a couple of those, and it was a very good resource for training tournament directors on best practices. We also got to say, hey, I have a pizza guy that sponsors me and does this. And I have a plumber that does this. And we're able to say things that work for us. And you get a lot of great ideas when you're away for a weekend, ostensibly to play a disc golf tournament, but really to learn about how to be a TD. I don't know if that still happens. I feel like it doesn't, but I think it's important that the PDGA bring that back. And I'll go ahead and just say, I also think it should travel around the country, as opposed to, it was nice having it at the IDGC, but there are other locations. Maple Hill would be very happy to host that. And I'd be very happy to go to Arizona, and like that. I think that should come back. If it doesn't exist, if it does exist, I'm glad it still does. But are TDs supported enough? I don't know the answer to that. I don't think you can't over support a TD. They are the lifeblood of events. They're obviously the reasons that the events happen. The players, the spectators, if there are any, those are necessary parts to make a tournament succeed. But without the TD, it's not even going to get started. So I think the PDGA should focus a lot of resources supporting TDs. Regarding Jonathan Ray, the concept of extenuating circumstances and mitigating situation or mitigating circumstance, I don't know if those words are right, I think what Jonathan Ray did was incorrect. I think he knew it was incorrect. I think he owned up to it. I've seen people mention the word jail and you did something wrong and you're a piece of dirt. He's been in the sport a very long time. And I think it's important to, as a society, think about, do we want to, when someone makes a mistake, punish them, or do we want to look at their heart, look at their words, look at their actions and say, okay, they're going to do what they can to make this right, but they can't do that right now. I personally side on the latter. I would absolutely be forgiving. If it was his first event that he'd ever run and he gets $26,000 out of people coming to play and doesn't do anything to get that money back, yeah, we should all say this. What you're doing is wrong. And if somebody does this for the first time and doesn't own up to it, doesn't say they're going to make it right, that would be a different situation than what we have here. I'm willing to be forgiving and I actually would trust Jonathan Ray. I would go to one of his events in the future because I believe he means the words he says.
Well, Steve, I mean, you've definitely done things as a TD that no one else has done before, and you're not someone who's afraid to kind of change the way that we think about tournaments. And one of those things that you've done is charge volunteers in order to be at the MVP Open. Do you still charge volunteers? And if so, how's that experiment going at this point? This year we increased the amount that volunteers pay. And I will admit to you, there's probably 5 or 6 volunteers in the first setup day, and we were all talking about this topic. And to a person, they all laughed and were just saying people don't understand the value that they're getting for that money. And it's not just joy value, which is actually maybe the most important thing. But it's physical value. And the money, the way the system works is the money is the reason that you come staff. And then the joy and the physical items you get back more than make up for the money. But the money makes sure you show up. If someone volunteers, maybe 80% of them show up. If it's raining, maybe 50. But our staff is always here, is always happy. They're always well compensated. They're always well fed. The system works really, really well. I would encourage tournament directors and even start small. Just say, hey, give me, because you're going to lose money on your staff. You're going to pay. You're not pay them. You're going to give them food. You're going to give them a disc. You're going to give them a shirt. So you're already losing $20 per staff. Tell them, hey, give me $20 and then count on losing $40 on your staff and give them even more. Give them a coat because it might rain. Give them a meal after the whole thing. Make it special for them. But since they paid, they're always going to show up. It doesn't matter if it's raining or not.
Yeah, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, people keep doing it. You always have all your volunteers. I think that the time to question this is past. It's clearly working.
And I'll go ahead and say we don't advertise for staff anymore. We tell our staff internally, if you have a friend you would like to bring them along. And we've actually had staff say, can I bring 2 friends? And we say, yes, of course. But we only advertise staff internally. Now, you can go to the DGPT website and get to our staff page, and that's fine. I love all the staff that comes, but we don't do any external advertising for staff at this point.
We've already discussed some course changes. Are there other changes of note to the course this year that people should know about? Yes,
there's 3 other changes that I can think of very quickly. Hole 6, we moved the basket a little bit shorter, and it's very close to the OB wall now. We also cleaned the fairway towards the bottom part, so players will be able to get that really good straight drive, maybe 30 to 50 feet left of the pin. And then they'll have a 30 to 50 foot birdie putt with OB behind. The other option is to take the risky drive and try to turn the disc left to right along the stone wall. And then your birdie putt is looking straight at the basket. And there's OB on the right, but it doesn't really come into play. So it's just a question of how risky you want to be on your drive. If you take that left to right, then you've got the safe birdie putt. And if you take the straight shot, which is a much easier shot, then you've got a risky birdie putt. So that I really am happy with the subtlety of that change. People are going to see the pin in a different spot and be a little confused potentially. But that's what happened. We cleaned up the fairway to make that straight shot a little easier. Hole 7 is entirely brand new. We moved it's not on the road anymore. And it's kind of interesting to me because DGN oftentimes we use the picture of hole 7 fairway as, one of their cut shots or like a between, like we're going to something else now, and they'll have to find a different shot. Well, it doesn't even matter, but we're not using that hole anymore. So the players are going to be about 50 feet to the right of that, basically running parallel to the road. And that road is going to be a spectator path now. And it's a little higher, so they'll be able to look down onto the players playing. The change is primarily predicated by spectators. I wanted the spectators on the road not walking through the woods, and I wanted the players in the woods not playing on the road. And my only instruction to Gage was it needs to be about as hard as the old hole 7. And I think he nailed it. Some of the players have said there's not going to be as many 5s, but there's not going to be as many 2s. So we'll see how it goes. Actually, saying it that way sounds like there's not going to be as much scoring separation, which is not good. So
we'll see.
The proof will be in the pudding. I think we're going to have a lot of exciting circle 2 putts with the way the hole is. There's a little bowl about 50 to 70 feet in front of the pin, and however far they get through that little bowl is going to determine their putt. And that assumes they hit the first gap. The other big change that I can think of is hole 14. Hole 14, we built a new wall, a retaining wall to protect the green. That was kind of sliding into the water, and it is very solid now. I'm really excited and happy with the work Joel did on that. So we have this beautiful new green protected by a wall, and for the men, there's 2 drop zones, and we actually are going to have a marshal on this hole making the calls. And if you if you land in the water, then you go to drop zone 1, which is the diamond tee. And if you land in the water, but you hit the wall or you were in bounds at any point, then you go to the putting drop zone, which is this drop zone 2. And we didn't want to require the players to try to determine if they were in just for a little bit or not. So we will have a dedicated marshal there, PDJ certified official, all 4 days, who will be making all of those calls.
Just one quick follow up on that. Does the wall have some sort of a retention for the discs mechanism, like a railroad? Railroad tie is what I think we see most commonly. But is there some sort of an elevation to try and prevent discs from coming back, or is it solely designed for like? Go ahead. You were saying yes.
You're correct.
Okay.
It is. In addition to holding the earth in, it is elevated a little bit above the earth. Interestingly, when this is one of those walls where you take the 6x6 and you just pound it into the mud, and they go in various distances. And so the top of the wall is not all the same. Okay. So some of the stakes go into the mud a little far. And so there's probably 2 or 3 gaps that are 6 inches wide where a disc could hit. And if it's going fast enough, could pop up and over because it's only like an inch or 2 above. But most of them are plenty high, and the guy that goes through there is going to hate us, and I'm sorry.
All right, Steve. Well, anything else you want to mention about this year and whether that's players you think are going to succeed on the new course or the changes that is, or anything else.
I would like to tell everybody that MVP is a fantastic partner. Without them, we never would have been able to grow the way we've grown. We have a brand new Zuka deck, and I'll mention the partner MVP. I did say MVP. Okay. So, and then we have and so go out and buy an MVP Open by OTB fundraiser disc. That money helps us improve the course. And then we have a brand new Zuka deck, which is 3 times bigger than our old Zuka deck and is going to be a spectacular place for people to watch. That's diamond level tickets and above. There's a wait list for that as well, Charlie. And then I've mentioned that we have the best staff in the world, and in disc golf, I'll say. And I genuinely believe that these people are so dedicated. Many of them take 1, some of them take 2 weeks off of work. And, that's their vacation. This is their vacation, spending money to come and work a disc golf tournament. And it's because there's so much joy and love and magic in these woods. And you can't help but feel it. Last night, we were all sitting around the table. We got done working around 7, and the party broke up somewhere around midnight. And it was just people laughing and having a really good time talking about how excited they are to be. It feels like summer camp, to be honest. And then the last thing I'll say is the spectators. They come back year after year. I'm making friends with people because they come and spectate this event. And I see them once a year. I usually don't remember names, but I always remember faces and smiles. And when people come here and they say, Steve, it's great to see you again, and I have no idea what their name is, I always try to guess because I'm an idiot. And if you guess Michael enough, eventually, but, just hugs and smiles, and high fives. This is just a magical place. It's my favorite time of the year. The Pro Tour has been super fun to watch all season. I think DGN has done an increasingly improving job with the coverage. And, I'm excited to spend this next week with all of the people watching.
Awesome, Steve. Thanks so much. Good luck.
Thank you, guys. And please, YouTube, keep up the great work. You make this game really, really fun to watch after the fact.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Steve.
I'll send you my raffle money.
I'll forward it to Julie.
Steve Dodge with us here on The Upshot. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Upshot. Thanks again to Steve for joining us. Josh, any thoughts on the changes to Maple Hill?
Well, first and foremost, we owe Steve an apology because we told him this was going to air on Wednesday, and he did a valiant effort trying to balance recording on Tuesday, releasing on Wednesday, only for us to set him up and actually release it today. So, sorry, Steve. Didn't mean to do that to you. In terms of the changes to Maple Hill, listen, I love alternate pin positions, and I think it's great. I think that and adding those 2 new holes essentially in order to make them and give that alternate pin position, it's exactly what our sport needs right now. And you asked me and talked about changes to GMC during the Rapid Reacts and whether or not GMC needs to see some changes on some holes, and I think Steve Dodge is one who does think about that and addresses that and works to try and improve his course. And that's why MVP looks a little different every single year. And I think for the most part, it's usually for the better.
Yeah, I'm excited. Maple Hill is awesome. And I think I want this to be the start of at least half the course having alternate pin positions.
Please.
There's really no reason not to be doing this.
Yeah.
And I think that they're going to get good feedback from it this year, and that we have an opportunity to make it a more common part of, tournaments across disc golf. I mean, I really think, especially on a course that's being played for 4 rounds and 1 course, we need it. We need the variety.
1 course.
It's like, I don't want to just watch players throw the same shot 4 rounds in a row.
Yeah. I would hope as this continues, because it's going to continue to get better and do well. I would hope as that is the case that the Pro Tour makes it a requirement that you have alternate pin positions on one day of at least like 3 to 4 holes to start.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'd love to see, 6 to 9 holes be required to have alternate pin positions for movement.
And this is the right change, which is like the tees stay the same, but the hole changes pars because you're having to throw an extra shot.
Yeah.
So show me some sweet, runs over the water on hole 1. And then, we're going to do the triple mando thing. I thought he explained that really well, by the way.
Yes, I did too.
I mean, we'll see how it actually goes. People were definitely freaking out about this when it dropped, but you don't want people to be able to punch through the trees. So then you have to make a mando somehow. So like, why not make it fun and interesting
and look nice?
Yeah. All right. We need to do Pursewatch.
Yes.
And review our picks. So let's take a look at the Pursewatch for GMC. They did not have this tournament last year because, of course, it hosted the World Championship. So we're going to be comparing our numbers to 2022. Josh, break it down for us.
Yeah. MPO comes out with $79,000. FPO $42,400 for a total purse of $121,440. This is the second highest payout per player, except for Worlds and Champions Cup. Those are the only two, which should say a lot about how much added cash got put into this tournament. It was a lot. At $941 per person, it was a hefty purse. MPO winner gets $15,000. FPO winner gets $10,000. And I know, as compared to last year, change has slowed down, sales have slowed down. We're in a bit of a drop off. But if you want a reference as to like where the state of disc golf is today, as opposed to a couple years ago, boy, oh boy, do we have one for you here. GMC only had $100,000 purse back in 2022. That's a 20% increase over 2 years. I know this year is slower. I know most of the tournaments are posting somewhere between a -5 and a +5 purse change. But we're still up from even a couple years ago and in a whole different ball game. And that definitely is shown in this Pursewatch.
Let's take a look at our picks. How'd we do, Josh?
Yeah. I pick the winners in both divisions, going chalk with Gannon and Kristen. Ricky also
so
gives me
bold, Josh, picking Gannon Buhr week after week after week.
Listen, I am 20 points behind you. Don't expect it to change. I need the points. Charlie, you get 1 in MPO for the podium on Ricky. I also have Ricky on my podium for 4 points total. We both picked Kristen as the winner. And then Whiff on the podium elsewhere. I had Missy and Holland, both of whom dropped to 4th and 5th, and it was close, but no cigar, no points for them. So we just get the 3 points.
Look, you doubt the dog bites back. I don't know what to tell you.
Listen, for anyone who ever gets after us for doubting the dog, we just like Own so much that we don't pick her so that she will podium. That's it. That's my story.
Anti-curse.
And I'm sticking to it. That's right.
Oh my goodness. Well, we talked a lot about FPO, Kristen and Silva, and more on the Rapid Reacts. So I would say now's the time. Get yourself an Ulti-World Disc Golf subscription. Listen to that. We basically did a whole extra podcast on GMC, so you can check that out. And our whole back catalog, and we've got bunch of stuff coming up with MVP. We'll be doing a Rapid Reacts on Sunday, and then daily shows during USDGC and Throw Pink. I'm going to be in Rock Hill on the call for FPO with Juliana Corver, so looking forward to that. And then, of course, the Tour Championship with a new format.
Yeah.
Are you concerned, since Gannon has already clearly locked it up, it is a done deal, he will finish first as long as he doesn't DNF and Ricky wins. Are you concerned about the fact that Gannon is going to have a 10-shot advantage? Obviously, that's scaling over the course of all the people, but is it going to be impossible to catch this guy right now?
Listen, the fact that Ricky's in second is in good shape because Ricky looks good right now. And we know Ricky loves this event, right? In whatever the format, wherever the course, like Ricky plays really well at the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championships. Yes, I'm absolutely concerned. But here's the thing. We have to decide, and by we, I mean the Disc Golf Pro Tour has to decide what is more important to them when it comes to this tournament. Is it about excitement, drama, and what feels like an exhibition event with a lot of money that is just designed to create the most exciting weekend of golf, regardless of what happens and who wins? Or do we care about giving a bonus to the best players of the season? That's the question that we have to kind of decide. And, in the past, we've gone with the Wild West format because we want the excitement. And boy, oh boy, have we had exciting formats and exciting finishes. But it also means players who barely sneak into the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championships are the ones winning it. This year and the past, with last year as well, we've decided that we want to reward the players who played the best throughout the season. It means that it might not be as important as a spectator event, but it is important as a capstone of the season and giving Gannon, his accolades for a season well played in the performance that he had. And I don't have a problem with that. I may not enjoy it as much, but it's a philosophy that I completely get, and I have no problems with using it as such.
Yeah, well, we're gonna see how it goes.
Yeah.
All right, that is going to do it for today's show. We'll be back with you tomorrow since we've got a MVP starting on Thursday. We've got another interview for you tomorrow, and we're going to be, of course, previewing everything MVP. We'll probably skip a lot of the course stuff since we talked about it a lot today with Steve. But join us tomorrow for a little bit of a shorter pod, and we will then get you ready for the weekend. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you tomorrow right here on The Upshot.